यमुनतीरवनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय श्री हरिनाम प्रभु की जय।
Hare Krishna. So we are very fortunate to have with us today His Grace Haladhar Nitai Prabhu. I'll give just a short introduction. Prabhuji is born and brought up in Hyderabad, but he did his BTech graduation from IIT Kharagpur. So has been a topper since childhood. Nitai Madhaprabhu told me all this. Although I met him previously when I went for Utkarsha camp many years back in Kharagpur. But there's not much connection. But Nitai Madhaprabhu informed me that how after doing his graduation from IIT Kharagpur, then he joined full-time in ISKCON Kolkata. And then being in ISKCON Kolkata, he also got a lot of services, youth preaching. And then Prabhu got associated with His Holiness Bhakti Vidya Purna Maharaj in Mayapur. And from that time onwards, Prabhu is helping in developing the curriculum in Bhaktivedanta Academy, Mayapur Gurukul. He teaches in Mayapur Gurukul and also assists in the administration of Mayapur Gurukul. And from some time, the Prabhu is working with Maharaj developing courses, various courses as well as certified courses on our Krishna consciousness to teach and propagate more. So we are very fortunate to have him here today, and we welcome him by loudly chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Welcome, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So, let's start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudiraye Nastaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagwatam, chapter 1, Canto 1, chapter 8, text 13. Vyasanam vikshyatat tesham ananya vishayatmanam sudarshanena svastrena svanam raksham vyadhat vibhuh. Vyasanam vikshyatat tesham ananya vishayatmanam sudarshanena svastrena svanam raksham vyadhat vibhuh. Vyasanam vikshyatat tesham ananya vishayatmanam sudarshanena svastrena svanam raksham yadad vibhuh. Please recite. Vyasanam vikshyatat tesham ananya vishayatmana sudarshanena svastrena svanam raksham vyadad vibhuh. Vyasanam vikshyatat tesham ananya vishayatmana sudarshanena svastrena svanam raksham vyadad vibhuh. Mataji Srimad. Vyasanam vikshyatat tesham ananya vishayatmanam sudarshanena svastrena svanam raksham vyadhat vibhuh. Vyasanam vikshyatat tesham ananya vishayatmanam sudarshanena svastrena svanam raksham vyadhat vibhuh. Word to word meaning. Vyasanam, great danger. Vikshya, having observed. Tat, that. Tesham, there. Ananya, no other. Vishaya, means. Atmanam, thus incline. Sudarshanena, by the wheel of Sri Krishna. Sva-astrena, by the weapon, Svanam, of his own devotees, Raksham, protection, Vyadhat, did it, Vibhuh, the Almighty. The translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The Almighty Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling His unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up His Sudarshan disc to protect them. Purport. The Brahmastra, the supreme weapon released by Ashwatthama, was something similar to the nuclear weapon, but with more radiation and heat. This Brahmastra is the product of a more subtle science, being the product of a finer sound, a mantra recorded in the Vedas. Another advantage of this weapon is that it is not blind like the nuclear weapon, but it can be directed only to the target and nothing else. Ashwatthama released the weapon just to finish all the male members of the Pandu family. Therefore, in one sense, it was more dangerous than the atomic bombs because it could penetrate even the most protected place and would never miss the target. Knowing all this, Lord Sri Krishna at once took up his personal weapon to protect his devotees, who did not know anyone other than Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has clearly promised that his devotees are never to be vanquished, and he behaves according to the quality or degree of the devotional service rendered by the devotees. Here the word Ananya Vishayatmanam is significant. The Pandavas were 100% dependent on the protection of the Lord, although they were all great warriors themselves. But the Lord neglects even the greatest warriors and also vanquishes them in no time. When the Lord saw there was no time for the Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, he took up his weapon, even at the risk of breaking his own vow. Although the battle of Kurukshetra was almost finished, still, according to his vow, he should not have taken up his own weapon. But the emergency was more important than the vow. He is better known as the Bhaktavatsala, or the lover of his devotee, and thus he preferred to continue as Bhaktavatsala than to be a worldly moralist who never breaks his solemn vow. Hare Krishna. Let's start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshacha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Parshatya Deshatarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. First of all, I would like to thank His Grace Sitaram Prabhu, His Grace Chaitanya Avatar Prabhu, Sachinandan Prabhu, and all of you devotees for giving me an opportunity to speak on this divine scripture, Srimad Bhagwatham. I'm very happy to see a lot of young devotees dancing, chanting, and enthusiastically serving the Lord. Nowadays, it's very rare in the outside world to see such a sight. Everybody is busy in their own world, and with more and more, materialism spreading, people are too much busy in their own world. Nobody comes together and happily chants and dances. People have no time and no interest as well. Okay, so coming to the subject. So this chapter is dedicated to describing the power of prayers of Queen Kunti. And before that, the whole scene is provided where how Ashwatthama releases a weapon to kill, Parikshit Maharaj in the womb of Uttara. And then we see how all the devotees unanimously take shelter of Krishna. This is not the only place, like most of us heard of Mahabharata. So we see there are many, many instances where all the Pandavas take shelter of Krishna, especially during the war. There are many, many powerful warriors. So Ashwatthama himself, even before this, then he releases Narayanastra when in the war. And nobody can counteract it. So then, everybody is like panicking, what to do now? It's Narayanastra, we cannot do anything with it. Then Lord Krishna says, okay, all you need to do is, all of you, take out your weapons, throw them down, and bow down fully to the weapon. Then you will be relieved. And all the warriors does that. And it's not a joke, for the warriors, it's not considered a glorious act if they put their weapons down in the battlefield. But because Krishna says, everybody does it. And because it's the Lord himself, the Astra, Narayanastra is of the Lord, nobody takes it as like an egoistic thing. Except for one person, who's Bhima. He thinks, I can fight it, he has the more warrior spirit. So he says, let me fight. What is this Astra? And then he starts fighting. And the more he fights, the more deadly it becomes. And there was a time when he was just about to be killed. Then both Arjuna and Krishna comes, and Krishna forcefully makes him bend down to the Astra. And there was another time when Bhagadatta, he releases Vaishnavastra. This is also another very powerful weapon. And he releases only to kill Arjuna. But then Lord Krishna, as a chariot driver, he comes, he raises from his sitting post, he raises, and the weapon just becomes a garland and comes to Krishna. Like that, and another time when I think Karna was releasing another weapon, which seemingly was a very ordinary weapon, but because of one demon taking he's a Naga, then he was sitting on it, then it became very deadly. Then Krishna again protects Arjuna. So like this, Lord Krishna protected his devotees many, many times. During the war, before the war, after the war, in relation to the Pandavas. And we see in Bhagavatam how he protects all the devotees at all times. So this is, as Srila Prabhupada is explaining, that Krishna rather, he forsakes his own vows, but he wants to be known as Bhaktavatsala. Now it is for this reason Krishna is called as Purna Purushottam. Lord Ramachandra is called as Maryada Purushottam means he follows all the etiquettes exactly. But Krishna apparently breaks the vows to satisfy his devotees. So these are some of the pastimes of the Lord. In his each avatar, he brings out some of his qualities very prominently. And as Krishna, the Swayam Bhagavan, then he is called as Purna Purushottam. Purna means complete. So that's why then he brings out those qualities which are the most important and which are from the spiritual world. So him being Bhaktavatsala, this quality is not ordinary. It's how Lord interacts with his devotees, even in Goloka Vrindavan, in Vaikuntha. And in the material world, when he comes, because to re-establish Dharma, then he performs activities which are appropriate to the time, place and circumstance for the people, the general populace to follow. But that is not the primary reason why Krishna appears in this world. The main reason for Lord Krishna to appear in this world is to satisfy his devotees, to perform pastimes with his devotees, and at the same time to attract the conditioned soul to this Leela. So basically he appears in this world to attract more and more people to participate in his Leela. That is the prime reason for his appearance. And in this verse also, Srila Prabhupada is stressing that he is known as Bhakta Vatsala, or the lover of his devotees, and thus he prefers to continue as Bhakta Vatsala rather than to be a worldly moralist who never breaks his solemn vow. This is a very, very important point, because as devotees, sometimes after being practicing Krishna conscious sometime, and then we become little more sane, then we start judging things on the platform of morality and justice. But even such great person as Bhishma Dev, who is considered as Mahajan, he says that I cannot tell for certain what is dharma and what is adharma, because it's very complex. If you just go by the rules of dharma, it's very, very complicated to say according to a situation whether you're performing the dharma or not. So that's why trying to justify things from the platform of morality will inherently have some or the other fault. So it's not a great platform to work on. But most of the times we all try to do that. Even when seeing devotees, then we try to see from the platform of morality and justice. This person, he has done this wrong, so he has to suffer. So he has to undergo punishment, he has to suffer. No matter whether he's a devotee or not, no matter whatever his attitude. That's what we work on. But Krishna doesn't work like that. You see here, in front of everybody he took a vow that he'll not lift a weapon, and then he's on one side, and then his own Narayana Sena is on the other side, who will all fight with their full weapons. So whom do you want to choose? And then Arjuna was given the first option, so he chose Krishna. He didn't choose his Narayana Sena. Because wherever there is Krishna, there everything will be all right. That's what Arjuna wanted to prove from this. Now if we use our mundane logic, it seems completely absurd, and that's what the most politically sharp person, which is Duryodhan, in the whole kingdom, he is the most politically the most sharp person, and he knew how to gather allies. So he had 11 Ashwayonis, and then Pandavas just has 7, if I am not wrong. So he could gather more army. He could keep Drona on his side. He could keep Bhishma Dev on his side. And he could keep all these big fighters on his side. And he has made perfect plan to win the war. And then when Arjuna chose Krishna instead of Narayana Sena, he got another extra benefit. So he was so happy and he was completely sure that he was going to win the war. And that's what exactly we do when we make our own plans. We make everything ready, and then okay, Krishna, then somehow come and just pray. I made my plan, this, that, and I pray just you as, God, just, give a stamp so that my plan will be successful. That's the platform we work on. But here, in Srimad Bhagwatham, we see complete opposite. How the devotees work. Arjuna, even just before this, when Ashwatthama redirected that weapon towards Uttara's womb, first he throws the weapon on Arjuna because he's following him and is about to catch him up. So when the Brahmastra was released, what we do, if we have something to counteract, immediately you counteract. But Arjuna didn't do that. He first went, offered his obeisances to Krishna, and then took his permission, and then he released his astra. Now in such a moment of calamity, how would somebody even remember to, first worship Krishna and do all those things? And we see the same thing later on in Bhagwatham with Dhruva Maharaj. For him, it's not calamity. It's the most auspicious moment. The success of his entire practice is when from the Vaikuntha Loka, the aeroplane came with the Vishnu Dutas standing. And then, by mercy of Krishna and devotees, if something like that happens to us, immediately, in whatever state we are, we just run. But he didn't do that. He first went, offered his prayers to the Lord, his daily prayers. Then he went to all his superiors, took their permission, everything. Then he boarded the plane. So, and also you see Prahlad Maharaj's prayers later and his whole life, very exemplary. So from all these stories from Bhagavatam, we need to try to grasp this principle about the attitude of the devotee. And that's what changes our consciousness slowly. Otherwise, if we just take the scripture from an intellectual platform, it just remains, okay, I know this, I know that, in this situation, what to tell. Will be a good preacher. As soon as somebody comes up with a question, you know what to answer after some time, if you spend 4 or 5 years. But it just on an intellectual level with question and answer. It hasn't sunk deep in us, so it doesn't change the other person's heart, neither it has much effect in our own heart. That's why even after many years, sometimes we see devotees, they are, apparently they complain, oh, I've been in devotional service for so long, but this problem, that problem, this devotee is not nice, the management problem, the whole outside world is problem, all problems. And all these problems are mainly because we are trying to lick the honey from the bottle outside. We are not tasting the real Krishna conscious substance. And that Krishna conscious substance is openly given in this book, and especially with the purpose of great acharyas like Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, it's even more revealed. But still, it's an open secret. It still remains a secret unless we have the attitude, the right attitude to submissively receive this knowledge and apply and purify ourselves to become the servant of Shri Shri Radha Govind. If we don't have that attitude, the same book, you just call an outside educated person and give this book, ask him to read this and ask him to explain. He will never have the proper realization from this, or never grasp the most important points. Only by worshipping the Bhagavatam, by hearing, that's why we sing Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, by hearing every day, can we come to this conclusion and also apply it naturally in our life and try to imbibe those qualities which the devotees have. And it becomes, Krishna consciousness becomes the natural process. And no matter what is happening in outside world, we remain undisturbed. Because we have nothing to do with, in one sense, with the outside world, what is going on. Because we have been given this body, which is as a temple to serve the Lord, then in order to maintain it, whatever is required, we do in this world. Otherwise, all our responsibility is just to be with the Lord and serve Him and take care of His devotees. There's nothing else. So the process is that simple. But we add so many other things. Oh, now I am like such and such person. I need to work. I need to do this. I need to do that. So I have some separate existence apart from my being a devotee. So devotional service is this side, and my family life, my job life, my career is on another side. Or my being a preacher or a great book distributor, it's another side. And then we weigh both of them, then starts all the problems. The Pandavas never did that. All they know themselves are they are devotees of Krishna. And whatever Krishna says to them, Krishna says, now you need to fight the war. Okay, we are ready to fight. And at one point, when the war is over, he told them to rule. And they ruled. And when Krishna left the world, they just made Parikshit Maharaj the king and they left. Yudhishthira Maharaj ruled so perfectly that it's mentioned in all the scriptures. Now when he's leaving, he's not attached. Are kya hoga? Parikshit Maharaj is just a small boy. Now if we give to him, whether he'll be able to maintain or not, maybe I should stay and oversee for some time and then give. No. Krishna left the world, so we don't have any business here. We need to live. And they installed Parikshit Maharaj as the king. It's not a stupid act, because there are all the great sages who are there, who can guide him. And they have faith in Krishna. And Parikshit Maharaj is no ordinary person. We see here, Krishna himself came to protect this child. That means Krishna wanted him to be the next emperor. So they know what is Krishna's plan. So they just submissively surrender to the plan of Krishna. So that's what we need to also do in our lives. That come to a stage where without any doubts and misgivings, we can surrender to the plan of Krishna. It's very easy to say, but very, very difficult to follow. But surely, when we try to have that submissive attitude and when we try to imbibe these qualities of great devotees from Bhagavatam, we will one day reach to that state. So now I'll try to speak little bit on this aspect of Krishna being Bhaktavatsala. So why this quality is superior than him being like, the perfect person in the material world to follow the perfect dharma, then that brings everything in order, no? In the material world. If Krishna follows all the rules perfectly, then everybody else also will follow all the rules perfectly. So the whole world can go nicely. Yes. But apparently we see here he breaks those vows in order to show partiality towards his devotees as Bhaktavatsala. So here many people comment or criticize also even the Lord for being partial to his devotees. And then from being an impartial way as a judge, he should not do that. It is injustice. Like this, many questions come up, and many different philosophies come about because of these aspects of Lord, him being a person. That's why most of the impersonalists, they don't try to touch on the personal aspect of the Lord. And many other the Abrahamic religions like Christianity, Islam and all, that's why they try to keep away from the personality of Godhead. Because then when you describe about the person, then you have to answer all these questions which seemingly are more complex. Then he's showing partiality. It's very clear, open in Bhagavad, in Mahabharata, in whole Krishna's life and Lord Ramachandra's life. How he protects Sugriva. Even you see Sugriva is not in one sense such a great character according to the morality principles. But he shows his partiality because he's his friend. And Lord Ramachandra associates with an Ishada because he's a friend. But according to the social etiquettes, it's not considered appropriate at that time. So Lord, in his pastimes, he shows this partiality. And nobody can deny it. And so now you need to explain this. Now why is he partial? When you say he's impartial judge, he takes care of everybody, he's equal to all. So we say the Lord is equal to all. At the same time, he's partial to his devotees. He's Bhaktavatsala. So these are two contrary aspects. That being impartial and being just in giving whatever according to one's karma, whatever results he needs, he gets, then to the individual living entity, the Lord gives that. On the other side, he is completely partial to his devotees. And it is something which is very much out of the way to protect his devotees. So, how these two contrary aspects exist simultaneously in Lord? That's a big question, which except for devotees, nobody else can answer. And that's where the Vaishnava religions supersedes any other philosophy or practice, any other religion, because the aspect of bhakti comes into picture. This is what Srila Jiva Goswami describes in his Sandarbhas, especially in Paramatma Sandarbha. He describes the importance of bhakti as a special Shakti of Lord. So this is the direct quotation from Paramatma Sandarbha. There is a function of Swarupa Shakti which is the highest essence called Hladini. Swarupa Shakti means the Lord's internal potency. And he has three main aspects, which is Samvit, Sandhini and Hladini Shakti. And Hladini is the highest essence of all. And who is the embodiment of the Hladini Shakti is Srimati Radharani. And the essence of the Hladini is Bhakti. So Bhakti bhakti is the essence of the Ladani Shakti. That's why from Srimati Radharani, what we learn is how to serve Krishna. Her whole existence is to serve Krishna. That's why in Bhagwatham, her name is hidden way given as Aradhana Sarvesha. There is a verse, I forgot. Aradhita Nunam, like that. So, even Radha herself, the name itself means the one who does the Aradhana of Lord Sri Krishna. So that's how the essence of Ladani is, this Bhakti Shakti. That Bhakti called Rati always exists in the Lord and His devotees. Thus, it is said, Bhagavan Bhakti Bhaktiman. The Lord has devotion to His devotee. This is from Srimad Bhagwatham 10:86-59. Thus, there is no destruction of satisfaction in the Lord, since the Lord is satisfied by the devotion situated in the devotee. So the Lord, His main aspect is when He comes in this world, is satisfied by the devotion of His devotee. Moreover, because Bhakti is the Lord's Shakti, by its very nature, it is different and non-different from Him. Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham. I respond according to the surrender of my devotee. This is from Bhagavad Gita 4:11. Because bhakti appears to be different in the devotee's heart, the Lord experiences astonishing bliss, thinking, His bhakti gives me joy. The swarupa of bhakti is the quality of appearing different in the Lord and His devotee. So this is the Bhakti Shakti of Lord. Only by this Bhakti can the devotee connect with the Lord. Otherwise, the Lord is Shaktiman and the devotee is His Shakti. Devotee is the coward boys, and afternoon, just because they need to stop the play, then Yogamaya arranges the demon comes at that time. The demon comes only at the time of lunch or just before they need to leave. Because otherwise the devotees are so much absorbed in serving Krishna, as the coward boys, they're so much absorbed in playing with Krishna, they just don't keep track of time. So something need to break the pastime. So the demons, they are just like the innings break, like for the Lord and His devotees playful games. So the inning breaks happen when the demons come and the Krishna kills. Oh, and then they remember, no, now we are hungry, we need to eat, prasadam. Or no, it's the time evening, we need to go back, like that. So from the mundane level, the consciousness which we are in, that everything else is very important for us. That as soon as we leave now, our whole job, this, that, everything is become too important. And meditating on that, we need to come from that stage to a stage where we worry only about serving Krishna. And all this, whatever activities in currently you are doing, maybe doing the job or serving in the temple or doing anything other work, is just a tool you utilize in serving Krishna. Just like we have so many utensils in the kitchen and we have so many spoons and everything, and we use a particular spoon for cooking, while cooking, and particular spoon for while serving. You cannot use different spoons. So similarly, according to our nature and whatever qualities we are born and brought up with, we can serve Krishna in a particular way. So that's the reason we are situated in a particular position right now. So we try to dovetail all our propensities to serve Krishna. But we don't engage our consciousness there. The consciousness is always on meditating how His devotees are taking shelter. Like here we see how the Pandavas take shelter of the Lord in this whole chapter. And we see how their mother, Kunti Devi, how she takes the shelter of Krishna. And exemplifying such wonderful character, they bless us and they give us that opportunity to meditate on these pastimes and change our consciousness and imbibe those qualities and eventually purify all our anarthas and become a pure devotee. Hare Krishna. And here, anybody has any questions, comments? Please. Yes, Prabhu. You can ask the question even if you are in Telugu, Hindi, but I will answer in English.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna.
मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि जब परीक्षित महाराज जब राजपाट संभाल रहे थे, मतलब तब उनका उम्र क्या था और किस उम्र में थे उन्होंने ये सब किया रहा?
मुझे तो पता नहीं, I don't exactly know, but the Bhagwatham says he was young. So Parikshit Maharaj was very young at that time, but he ruled for many years before the whole aspect of Takshaka coming and all. So, as far as I know, then after the war, it was 36 years, then they stayed. Krishna stayed on this planet. So he should be young, means around 30-year-old. I mean, this is just my speculation based on the time frame that was given. So he could be around 30 years old because just after the war, then he was born. But still that's very young, because that's the time when people live 1,000 years. And towards the end, maybe 400-500 years is also common. So just 30 years is very young. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj still gave the kingdom to him and then went. And we see how wonderfully Parikshit Maharaj, he ruled the whole entire universe after that. Okay?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु।
हरे
एक प्रभु जी छोटा सा एक प्रश्न है। जब अस्त्र जैसे नारायण अस्त्र ये सब अस्त्र जब ये युद्ध होते हैं
थोड़ा जोर से।
जब युद्ध होता है तो अस्त्र मतलब जब आता है तो अर्जुन मतलब तो भगवान के शरणागत जब उनको दंडवत करने मतलब इतना टाइम मिलता है उनको जब अस्त्र आता है या कैसा रहता है?
These all things, what happens is when we see from a material perspective, it becomes very difficult. अरे अस्त्र तो आ रहा है, मतलब you know the weapon is coming. So how could he even take shelter? But the most important point in this thing is the consciousness. That when you have the right consciousness, it doesn't take much time to offer those obeisances and take shelter of the Lord and respects like that. Even for releasing those astras, you need to chant mantras. So it's not that when you need to chant mantras like you're chanting mantras for the 10 minutes. What happens is, when you become purified, the more and more you are pure, immediately you come to that level. Like initially when we need to worship Lord and all, then we need to do so many preliminary activities. Even before entering the altar, we need to do so many activities to purify ourselves, our consciousness, so that we become qualified to enter into the altar and serve Lord. But by practice, we become more and more purified. We can do what takes 20 minutes in 3 or 4 minutes. Just like generally when devotees chant Gayatri also, when we start initially, it takes like 20-25 minutes first to just, remember the mantra correctly. Slowly, then when we memorize the mantra, it takes little less. When you understand the meaning of mantra, it takes even more less. So then when you just sit for chanting, you're already fixed in that consciousness. So, and when the relationship with the Lord also is like grown so much, it doesn't take much time. Just like that we see in family relationships also. Just like when a guest comes into a home, wife and husband, no, whatever they want to talk, it's only by their eye movement. Everything happens. All the talk is done in just by moving the eyes, no, with excitement or with some kind of disturbance. All the information is just given. So when that relationship is there, then it doesn't take, the time is not a factor which decides all this. So when the relationship with the Lord is there, as Lord was moving in Vrindavan, when he comes back from the pasture grounds, all the devotees are there, the seniors and the gopis headed by Yashoda Mata, and all the young gopis who are, the friends of Krishna, Radharani and others. Now, he need to convey some message to them in presence of all. All he does is, Lord Krishna offers his sidelong glances to the gopis, and they understand everything. And that's what they're looking for, just for those sidelong glances of Krishna. They're just meditating the entire day. And that's what is also the Kama Gayatri is all about. Krishna, how he is very, very particularly fulfilling the desires of his devotees. That's what we meditate on. So, these activities, once we purify ourselves and become more and more devotional, then you can do in just a few seconds. It doesn't take much time, but it carries a heavy load of, devotional practice and information in just that few moments. And that requires lots and lots of practice. That's why sadhana bhakti. We perform sadhana bhakti. So on one day, spontaneously, we can do like how Arjuna did. In any situation, whether it is dangerous, good, bad, immediately surrender to Krishna. Hare Krishna. ठीक है?
धन्यवाद.
Yes. Okay, so Prabhuji is asking that we discuss that attitude determined our progress. So, how to see that we have the right attitude? The first and foremost thing is the principles given in the scriptures. As you read the Nectar of Devotion, there are 64 principles of devotional service. And what are the first three aspects? Surrendering to the lotus feet of spiritual master, serving, engaging in service, and carrying out his instructions. So the spiritual master means the Diksha Guru and all the Siksha Gurus who give you Siksha. So we should not have any prejudice, means any ulterior motive in carrying out their instructions. Sometimes we may find ourselves unfit to do that. At the time, we go approach them and submissively inquire how you can properly do that activity. That's not wrong. But the attitude is you don't have any ulterior motive while doing that. Like we come to devotional service, it's an open thing. You come to ISKCON because Prabhupada, our grandfather, he has given us this most opulent place and facilities. So most of the time we become very complacent because we have so much facility. Like I stay in Mayapur. Now Mayapur is like, estate. Nobody has such a big estate. 650 acres is just the campus. And we have thousands of acres outside. So in one sense, I just don't like to come out of that place because it's all our place. Like, which rich person has such a facility that he can roam in his estate, which is 600 acres, and everything is very well maintained, twice a day, cleaned, and who has such an opulence? But Krishna and Prabhupada has given us all this. It was not like that when Prabhupada just started, telling the devotees that our headquarters will be at this place. It was completely rice field. All the devotees were looking at each other. What is Prabhupada talking about? We'll have our headquarters here in this village. But now you see, thousands of devotees. It's like the most famous spot in entire Bengal and for Bihar also. And as soon as the TVP opens, 101% guaranteed, it will be the number one spot for the entire India. And right now in weekends, there is no room available. So indirectly I'm telling, don't call me for rooms. In weekend, if you come, no rooms available in Mayapur. It's like so busy. So what I'm trying to say is, so we have so much opulence and facility. So most of the time, our mind and intelligence say, just enjoy the facility we have. And we do become complacent. Why do we need to go out for book distribution? In South India, don't know, outside 45 degrees, it's dry heat, we get, so much problems. You can give 101 reasons. And when it is raining, it's too much raining, I get rashes, this, that. I do also do all this many times. But then, right attitude means, by our strong intelligence, we have to overcome all our laziness and then try to execute the instructions given by Srila Prabhupada, the Acharyas, and our immediate spiritual authorities. So, main aspect of having the right attitude is you don't have ulterior motives in executing an instruction. And you try to your best to please the authorities. Don't worry about future. Oh, what happens when I'm 50, 60-year-old, this, that. Anyway, what is the use? Many times, this question always comes up, Prabhu, what happens when you grow old? Okay, because I come from little bit touch of medical background as well. I studied biotechnology. So I didn't work any time, but as a part of college studies, then we need to work 3 months as an intern. So I was doing in this Poonawalla group of industries who made this vaccine for corona. When I was working, it was nothing like that. So then when I saw the pharma business, how they make the whole thing, anti-cancer drugs I was working on. And one drug, whoever releases, has become the richest person in the world. All these top 10 companies, they are all maintained by these rich people. So the point is, what I was trying to convey is, okay, you're trying for your social security in this world. How much money? How much money do you think is safe so that all your body needs are taken care when you are old? 5 lakhs? 10 lakhs? 20 lakhs? 50 lakhs? 1 crore? 2 crores? There are guys sitting, just when you enter into these multinationality hospitals, there are guys sitting at the insurance desk. They have done their full detailed study in management, everything. By seeing you, they will exactly know how much they can extract from you. They will rip apart all the money you have for social security. So what I'm trying to say is, whatever security and all we are trying to get in this material world, we make our plans, but finally it comes down to, ultimately you have to depend on Krishna. You make your plans, so finally at one point everybody leaves. Abhi to kuch nahi kar sakte, Bhagwan ke upar chhodna hai. So we live on Krishna finally. So why to undergo so much troubles and everything and finally come to this point when you cannot do anything. That time your consciousness is not right. In desperation, abhi kuch nahi kar sakte. So from before you are in that consciousness, and you are happy with whatever Krishna provides. It's not that doesn't mean you don't work. You do your work. Whatever money comes rightfully, you take that. And that much is sufficient. Krishna will take care. You see miraculously things happening. Like when we go, one of my friend from Kolkata, he's here with his parents, like, not feeling well, so he's taking care. So then he's taking care of them. When their parents try to work themselves out, the doctors, they were not cooperating. When he came, like he's in a dress of devotee, then doctor got interested, talked to him, and he was giving more personal attention to his parents and everything. And what we did, like to get the attention of doctor, what we did, we don't own some big company or something. We just are devotees, Krishna's devotees, and that Krishna is inspiring him to help you. So Krishna will inspire. If we maintain the right attitude, Krishna will provide everything to us. But there is a condition which Prabhupada mentions here. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has clearly promised that his devotees will never be or never vanquished. That is there. And he behaves according to the quality or degree of the devotional service rendered. So we cannot say, because I come to the temple and just offer my obeisances to the Lord, now Krishna has to give so much. Only if you are fully surrendered, he will fully protect. If you have a business deal with the Lord, just like we are very famous Telugu devotees to have a business deal with Balaji. If I get this much, I will give you this much money. So Krishna will give you that much only. But if you want full protection of the Lord, you need to exhibit full surrender to the Lord. Understand? So that all our attitude is directed in that way. Having full surrender to the Lord. That we show practically by surrendering and serving His devotees, and by maintaining all our daily schedule in such a way, we can do our bhakti, sadhana process. We can practice more and more. Okay? So when we end here, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagwatham ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Samayata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Thai Gaur Premanande, Hari Bo.